Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and welcome to the second pre-conference night for the inaugural Gaming and Education Conference. This is so much fun. We had two great sessions last night. Both of the keynote speakers from last night are in the room, Bron Stuckey and Peggy Sheehy. Tonight, Marianne Malmstrom kicks us off. We have one keynote, and then we have a couple of regular sessions. Our full conference day is Thursday, but we're teasing you with lots of fun. Marianne, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks to Brain Pop. Allison Levy is my co-chair for the conference, Allison from Brain Pop, for their support. Thanks to ASB Online, the American School of Bombay. Thank you for being sponsors and making these events for free. Thanks to Blackboard Collaborate for this ever so stable platform. Now here's a chance for those of you in the live audience to let us know where you're listening from. Click to the left of the map on the star icon, click on the map, and put a shout out in the chat. Bron's here, so we know that we're international.
Oh, and first, that would be Yvonne.
I'd love to hear where the rest of you are from. Peggy in Arizona.
And New Zealand. Right.
Oh, how fun. New Zealand. Okay, I'm going to move forward, but keep putting those notes in the chat. Go ahead. Yes.
I will. Thank you, Steve. This is actually
Marianne,
really exciting to do a session with you, and thank you to Allison and Brain Pop for sponsoring this. I'm very excited to be here. It was pretty dicey this last hour. I'm actually at a friend's house camping out because I was told my internet is down in the area. So moving on and making things work. My kind of tagline over the last few years has become follow the learning, and that comes from me actually being in this new world with everybody else trying to figure out how to keep my classroom relevant for kids when I don't know what the world's going to look like. And it's also where my name comes from. I out of the classroom and into the computer lab, and teachers would always come to me and say they had no clue. So it became kind of a pun to go out there and find a clue originally, but it's really become the truth. And I've done that mostly by following the learning that the kids are doing on their own and looking at their habits and use of technology inside and outside of school to help inform me. So that's how I came to gaming. I was not a gamer. In fact, I was the teacher who said no gaming, but my passion to keep my classroom relevant was stronger than any preconceived notion that I had about games, and I think a lot of people do that. We just have such a visceral reaction, especially to digital games, and when I started playing, everything changed. So I'd like to show you my school. This is the Elizabeth Morrow School. It is an independent K-8 in Englewood, New Jersey.
Marianne,
we are based. Yep.
Do you still have that little icon on with the two arrows?
Yep, I've advanced. It's
okay,
not advancing for you.
Well, no, because that's in independent mode. So turn that back off so you can move the slide forward.
There you go. Awesome. So that's my school, and we're housed in an old mansion. It's very cool, and if you can look, you see that the columns are a little ski-wampus, and I'm going to ask Steve if you'll play that first video that I dropped in. Okay, getting it set up. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. If for some reason it doesn't come through to you, participants in the web tour, you can click on the link in the chat. And was that it? It crashed out for me?
Well, yeah, it's showing the drawing of the school, rotating it now. And we've seen the back side, and it's done almost a 360, and it's done.
Yeah. So really what that is a model of our school, a 3D model pulled up from Google Maps that was created by a 6th grader, and it is part of a game that my entire 6th grade worked to develop last year, and that's the first thing that I'm going to be talking about. But I could tell you about the game, but I'm going to let Ishan. Ishan is actually a pretty quiet student, but we had Bob Greenberg come to the school a few months, well, actually it was the end of school last year. He's doing a series of interviews, and I asked the kids if they would come and talk about what they liked about gaming, and Ishan said he wanted to come, and he did, and we had no notes or rehearsal. The kids just sat down and talked, and he talked about this game, and it actually really blew me away, as well as the developer who worked with us. I guess still waters run deep. So if you go ahead and play, we'll let Ishan describe the platform that we use to create our game.
Okay, and again, I've put it in the chat. If it doesn't immediately come up for you on the web tour, click on the chat and watch it in your own browser. Okay, it finished for me. Does anybody need more time? I'm going to give it 15 more seconds in case it started late for people. And we're back.
Okay, great. And I did see some notes about his confidence, and exactly. I was really quite blown away by his confidence and his ability to articulate exactly what this very complicated platform is. So let me explain to you a little bit about what we did. And this was an entire year project for our 6th grade. We ran the class as if it were a business, which means that we had to decide the game that we were going to create. We were actually beta testing this platform for the gentleman in Copenhagen. I was working with Damon Hernandez, who I had met at the Serious Play Conference last year. And we wanted to see what we could do when we put students and teachers and a developer together to create a game, and at the same time tested this new technology. And it was a really good fit for us because we had been doing a lot of work in virtual worlds. I was interested in the augmented reality. I was really interested in marrying GPS technology with the two. So it was pretty exciting. I didn't know what I was doing. I told the kids we didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing. And we all just decided to figure it out. We worked asynchronously. You can see some of the papers there on the desk. I believe it was Ishan figured out, we took a map of the school, how to divide and conquer. We talked about, we decided to make, as a group, it had to be a service, so we decided we would do an orientation for our 4th graders coming up to our building. We decided it would have to be funny. And so they set about designing as a whole group. After that was done, I asked the kids to come forward that really wanted to dig in deeper into the game. At that point, we had all played with SketchUp, all of us learning together. I knew how to use none of these tools, and the kids will still say, I don't know how to use any of these tools. But the ones who were really good, they got their interest showed, and they really got involved. And so when I asked for just a few kids to step forward to, once we had the design in place, I asked the kids who wanted to program and finish creating the assets to come forward. And they self-selected, which was a really interesting process. They continued to work on the game for the rest of the year while the other 6th graders went on to other activities. And one of the most interesting things, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me just introduce, this is Damon Hernandez, who works in all kinds of wonderful adventures out in California. And he actually came out to the school once and worked with the kids face-to-face. He brought his Oculus Rift. We did not program for the Oculus Rift, but he wanted the kids to see where all of the technology was going. Even the adults got involved. It was very exciting. He worked one-on-one with the kids that were specializing. And then he continued to work several times during the year giving instruction to the small groups. This is going to be the last film, I think, that's working, but I really love this film, so I'm so happy it's going to play. I want you to listen to the learning. This is a small group of kids. They stayed voluntarily after school, after a sports day, to meet with him. And he's showing them how to upload icons to make their game more interesting. So, Steve, if we can go ahead and play that.
Absolutely. Again, I've put the link in the chat, so if this doesn't start playing for you right away, just click that link and, click the wrong button. Click that link and go into your browser. Here we go. We're back.
Great. Did you hear it? Did you hear the learning? That moment when it was connecting. So we found out that we didn't need to have Damon in the room, that he could still continue to connect and help us. So that was really a huge deal, to be able to work directly with a real-world product, to be beta testing it, to get feedback from a real developer. And the interesting thing is that the kids, we ended up having to use QR codes because our point of interest were failing. The kids, so they went to Plan B. They were printing these carts out, and they were going all over the school every time they came to tech class, and they would disappear with my key to the building. And finally, they were really surprised it didn't work after they did all their programming, and they were so surprised and were introduced to the concept of iteration, and that they just had to keep going until their game was fixed. And they probably spent a good 3 months trying to fix it. There was a really funny moment when Sarah Raleigh, who's our director of technology, said, "Why don't you guys just put all of them on the bulletin board so you can stop running around the building?" And it was another one of those really funny aha moments. We were grateful because things got a little bit easier after that. And the kids actually kept real records back to the company, informing them of bugs and trying to resolve issues. And I'm just curious, is Damon in the room? Damon, are you here? He was actually at another conference today. I think it was really surprising for them how adept the kids were at giving them very real information that helped them improve their product. And I see Sarah is in the chat and giving some feedback. So they did not get their 3D building finished. The game was in a workable, pretty workable, but not in enough time to test it before the end of school. And they didn't get the interiors finished. I was really curious when they came back this year whether they would want to continue, give it up, work on another game. Interestingly enough, they've all but 2 of them have come into, as the 7th graders, into my game design elective, and they want to continue to work actually to finish this up, which I thought was amazing after the summer. So you'll need to stay tuned, and I know that Damon's excited to work with them as well as the Plain Mondo people because there's been some updates. And this is a tool, I don't know if they're still in the beta testing, but if you're interested, this is a tool I'm certainly keeping my eye on because it affords the kids a lot of different ways to design. And I've just put Damon's contact information there at the bottom if you want to jot that down and contact him. He's really wonderful to work with, and I know that they're probably looking for some more people to help them out with the beta testing this year. So this idea of collaborative design, teachers and developers and students working together, I just want to touch on this for a moment because last week there was something very exciting that happened. Peggy talked a little bit about it last night. It was a game jam at the White House, and sadly we were unable to attend, but I was following it closely on Twitter, and before I agreed to go, I had asked, are there going to be kids and are there going to be teachers? And I was assured that that would happen. But what did happen is they brought the kids in to test the games. And I don't want to sound so critical, but I actually feel pretty critical. I really want to applaud that they're moving in the right direction. I think not having kids there for the design process was a really missed opportunity. And I think it speaks kind of to where our head is in education, that it's always about the adults. I don't know of any other company or industry that doesn't bring their client to the table, especially when they're designing products. And bringing them after the fact is, I think it was a missed opportunity. I'll say that as politically correct as I can. We could have done better. And I hope that they hear this, and I'm certainly in touch, and that the next time they do a game jam, that they will bring the kids in from the onset. I know one teacher down there actually had her kids make some suggestions on video. I don't think very many people looked at them. Some of them were really quite good. And I think that if we're going to actually see a shift, we've got to stop thinking of games as merely being a vessel to deliver content, and we need to shift our focus on what games teach us about learning systems, what games teach us about learning when we play games. Kids are natural born designers, and I just have found this to be really where the learning lives is in going through this process with the kids. I don't know about game design. I'm just learning with them. And that's really, isn't it, the way of the world right now? We can guess what the world's going to look like, but in the end, it's going to be based on our ability to be agile and to learn. So let me back up and tell you just a little bit about my school, for those of you that don't know. Since 2008, we have been working in virtual worlds and multiplayer online games. On the right-hand side, you see all the different platforms I've been through and been on. I have the ones in green are the ones we're still using, Minecraft, knock on wood. And you know, we see games come and go. This is a very you're not going to find the perfect game, and I don't know any of us that stick with one thing when we play games over and over and over. Well, I will speak for myself. The purpose for getting into these virtual worlds and multiplayer games was originally machinima. I was doing a lot of multimedia. It seems like the perfect studio to teach movie making. Machinima is making video with 3D virtual worlds or games. I quickly realized that it was hitting all the sweet spots of what we identify as 21st century learning. I really started looking at the connection between citizenship and safety. We now realize, or some people are starting to realize, that very, very young kids are online, and they're very, very good at being online. They, I think Minecraft has shown us that. And at our school, the minute we started using Minecraft 3-4 years ago, Sarah, I'm not even sure when that was, we the same week we decided to run a 24/7 server so our kids would have a safe place to play after school, and we really used it as a place to practice citizenship. I love what Ron Stuckey says. She calls it a lived curriculum. You don't teach a child to cross the road by sitting them on the couch and giving them a PowerPoint. You teach a child to cross a road in context of crossing a road. And so it's really important if games right now are our youngest children, or where our youngest children are experiencing their social network, participatory social networks, and we really need to have those in schools so that they can be practicing it with a trusted adult. And I've done, I'm known as a free-range teacher. I give kids a lot of freedom, but I also design a lot of curriculum, so I just wanted to give a nod to that, that I've done all of these very formal projects in the classes over the years. My kids do a lot of independent projects when they come into classes, and they have electives, and this is just a sampling of some of the different kinds of projects they set up for themselves. I do that formally now, where they come in and they have to make a proposal so that they're identifying what they want to do, why it's a challenge, how far they think they can go, so that there's some structure to it in their mind. But of course, we're always flexible, and they do write their own report cards. And then beyond the school day, I've come to play a lot with the kids on their online spaces. First, because we have the Minecraft server, and then the next thing you know, they're taking you to visit other servers. And gamers game informally outside of school, and we have certainly found that once we had a gamer culture in school, that happens. I never really am about policing the kids. I always talk to them when they're young, if they're old enough to have accounts. I do report back to the parents in very general terms, letting them know things like you've got third graders making their own servers, know where your kids are online. We've got fifth graders who have Twitter accounts. Most of our sixth grade, have this account or that account. So I'm trying to broker the cultures to have better discussions about how those kids are playing online. And it's really a lot of the time centered around games. So I I just had the privilege of speaking to I was with Peggy and Braun, and we had a symposium in Brisbane talking to several researchers working in games and education, and I wanted to highlight 4 of the lessons that I learned from kids, and I think that this is probably the most important one. And you know, the slide seems a little obvious. Kids are smart, but I really can't tell you how frustrated sometimes I get, or I should talk about my own journey. The more that I've done this, the more in awe I've become of how capable and smart children are. And it's almost like there's 2 worlds. There's they come into school and they know how to play the game of school, and they're very respectful, and they want to do well in school, and they know how to get it done. And then there's what happens outside of school and online, and they're really good at learning things and teaching each other. And sometimes when I see these 2 worlds, I really wonder if we're not meeting them where they are. And it's got to be pretty frustrating for a lot of kids to come and sit in class all day and listen to lectures when they're capable of doing so much more, and maybe even you know, designing some of the curriculum with their teachers. So this is not going to play. You can go to my YouTube channel, No Clue Kid channel, and I'll try to reload the snippet. There's an entire 20-minute piece on this, but I just wanted to show you an example. So I'm going to have to explain it. This was very early in our virtual world days. We actually had our own island on Second Life. And I was doing a lot of lessons in class, but I was finding the really interesting things were happening after school when the kids were just playing on their own in the evenings. And so I was becoming really keen about that kind of learning. I was talking to Peggy a lot. She was seeing the same things. And so that's when things started to get interesting. In my elective class, I had a student who came and wanted to build a paintball arena. And he lobbied me really, really, really hard. And it was back in the day when we were like, oh, no guns in school. And we held that line pretty tightly. And that's what I understood, you know, no guns in school, that's crazy. But he argued on behalf of it being a sport. And he finally wore me down. And I agreed to give him a portion of the sim so he could build his paintball court. But I thought it was really clever, and said to him, well, you can build this, but when you're done, you have to present it to the head of school, and he has to decide whether you can keep it or not. And I thought that was a pretty good solution. And it turned out that he never finished it. He got all of his friends, and they came and they worked on it all semester, and then they wanted to continue to work on the next semester. And I was bested. So it came to the time of Virtual World's Best Practices in Education, and I got a great idea. Let's open up the island. Let's let the teachers come in and see, and you make your case with the teachers and see what they think. It was one of the most fascinating presentations I've ever done. I actually was just in the background filming it, and you can hear the ownership in these kids' voice, and the teachers were having so much fun. They came in from all over the world, and they were playing the game. But the thing that blew me away was when the teachers were playing in the obstacle course that they had built, that was the house, and they had secret entrances and places you could hide. The kids discovered that they had designed everything for short avatars, and all these teachers were coming in with very tall avatars. So there's this really interesting point in the video where you hear the kids presenting to the guest and explaining, but they're also talking to each other about the problem, and they're fixing it on the fly. And I couldn't do that if I were, you know, I were teaching a class. And I actually wrote a piece about it, that my passion for creating spaces where kids can own their learning like that and have that much passion was greater than any discomfort I had, whether the kids were playing a paintball gun, paintball gun. Is that how you say it? You can see I don't play paintball. So it was a real turning point where the kids were trying to teach me, I don't think on purpose, but through our working together and playing together, they were teaching me lessons about play and learning. And if you go to my channel, you can see the whole 20 minutes.
Marianne, I posted the link to your channel in the chat, and I did find a link to that video if you want to show any of it.
I don't want to show it because we don't have time, but if you want to put it in there and people can take a look at it later, that would be awesome. So I'm going to fast forward to Minecraft, which was actually 4 years ago for us, and thank you to Ron Stuckey, Dean Groom, and Joe Kay, who are all in Australia and were doing some work with Minecraft. They had made the decision they weren't going to develop any curriculum for the game until they had sat down and played with the kids. And sometimes in our profession, we just need somebody else to give us permission. And that was the permission I needed to do what I really wanted to do, which was just put the lessons aside and sit down and play with them. And we did that all summer. We used a lot of different games. The kids got to choose which games they wanted to play. Some kids didn't choose games. Some kids went into Photoshop. We called it Epic Adventures. And it was really, really exhilarating to watch these kids in their different games. And Minecraft was new to me. I wasn't a big fan at first. I was watching the kids, and honestly, I was thinking it was a little dumb. But what I started to see was the role-playing that they were doing. And that fascinated me. I have a background in early childhood, and this imagination with all of these colored blocks. And then I realized that they were creating games within the game, and that completely undid me. And I don't know why, because the kids back in Second Life had made the paintball game, but they were making mini games. And everybody who works with Minecraft now understands mini games, but I had never seen anything like it. And this is a picture of the first one I saw, where they were corralling zombies in this corral and using them for shooting practice, which sounds pretty gruesome, but I had learned not to be judging all the time. I asked one of the kids, why zombies? And she said to me with disgust, because skeletons will shoot back at you. And this was only one of several. She had what they called challenges where you would have to jump through fire with blocks and not fall in darkness, and there was awards and cakes. And seeing the kids play with this way made me stop and think completely differently about games. And that's when I knew that I really had to stop thinking about games in terms of me creating lessons for the kids and start thinking of them as being a space for kids to design their own kind of games and their own kinds of lessons and their own kinds of challenge. The first one that I did on a big scale, I had was actually inspired by the World Peace Games. And I say that loosely because I don't think a lot of people would recognize it as being inspired by the World Peace Games. But if anybody in the room does not know John Hunter or his World Peace Game, please, after you have a break, because I know we've got some great sessions coming up after this, please go find his TED Talk. He will be the first to tell you he is not a game designer. He developed this game, as many teachers do, just out of trying to get his students engaged. And his philosophy is really beautiful, and it mirrors a lot of things that I've learned from my colleagues over the years. But he is able to express it so eloquently about clearing space for learning, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in a little bit later. But the interesting thing about his game is I actually got to go see him play it with the kids. And so I came back after going to his master class, and instead of me designing the game, we got a bunch of kids and asked them if anybody was interested in starting to design a game. And I had 3 or 4 kids come forward. One was in 3rd grade, one was in 5th grade. I think we may have had a 4th grader. And my colleague and I told the kids, you have 3 nations, you have a colossal problem you have to solve. Each nation has one thing that you need to solve the problem. And that is how the game literally was born. The kids would stay in during recess. They designed it. We played it that week in our summer camp. And over the next year, I think there were 7 or 8 iterations played at grade levels 3, mixed grade levels from 3 to grade 6. And every time the kids played, we would make adjustments to the game. Some kids only played it once because they were only in that class once. Some kids played it several times. I've had requests. I didn't play it last year, but so we actually literally crowdsourced designed this game. We wanted to make it asynchronous so that we could play it with schools around the world. We did not get to the asynchronous part, but we actually did get far enough into the game that we were able to document and put enough information that at ISTE last year, we launched, not this year, the year before, we actually put it out into the world and we said to teachers, take this game, play it in your classrooms, see what you think of it, change it, make it better, send it to the next person, kind of in the spirit of a lot of the Minecraft games that are designed that way. We just asked that people pointed the game back to us and gave us feedback. We finally had the first class start to play it, and Yvonne, I think you're here in the chat, right? Can you give a shout out? I saw you on the, yes. Can we give you, Yvonne the mic and let her just give her perspective all the way over in Perth?
Just click on the talk button, Yvonne. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Yes, I've got a small group of kids who come to Computer Club every week, and a high schooler who actually comes back to help out with the server. We started playing the game back at the beginning of this term. Unfortunately, we've only had 3 or 4 sessions at this stage, but what I've really noticed is that the kids started off in their groups and they all started off only wanting to help their own group, but eventually they came to the realization that if we don't pull all of this stuff together, we're never actually going to leave the area before the catastrophe occurs. So we're going to have to do a little bit more after the holidays and just see what happens then. But I'm really excited, and thank you to Marianne and the kids for developing this.
Thank you. It's so cool. I'm happy that you're even trying that, and we're kind of excited to, in the game club, to see what you think, and hoping that you're going to make some improvements. I think we have enough time to actually look at the trailer the kids made. I'm just putting that in the chat. I will say they did everything, but we did have one of my colleagues did some special effects on some of the editing. So enjoy that as they promote their game.
Okay, so again, I've put, or I haven't, Marianne's put the link in the chat. You can click on that if this video doesn't show up for you, which I'm clicking on now. And we're back.
Great, thank you. So the exciting thing was I think we did honor John's game. It was well, yeah, I'm thinking about his game right now. We did honor his game because we asked kids in a very scaled down way to think about solving problems where they really actually had to work together. And I look forward to hearing more from Yvonne as they have a chance to play. And anybody else, please just contact me. We've put everything online, and you could loosely interpret it to try it and make the game or be inspired to make your own game. So I'm going to talk briefly about another couple of concepts, and then I would like to open it up for questions. And one is this concept of playing and learning. And I'm not going to play this video, but this was one night I jumped onto our 24/7 server and found the kids had made an amusement park. And the first thing I asked is, did you make bumper cars? Because I couldn't figure out how they would make bumper cars. And lo and behold, they had figured out a way to do it. And it's one of the things that I really love about Minecraft is it's the essence of creativity. It's got such limited resources at first, but it's infinitely possible to change those resources, and the kids do. And they found out if they put a pig in a minecart, and I'm still not sure if the person did this on purpose. It reversed the controls, and it really made the carts end up behaving like real bumper cars. And it's pretty funny, when we were videotaping that, I tend to document with the kids a lot, asking them how they did that, and she was growling that they had to take a break to do homework. And she growls. This is an area that we just still have. We have such a difficult time with this in our society that it doesn't have value unless teachers or adults give it value. And yet, school is a modern invention. Play is the way that humans have learned for eons and eons. We're biologically wired to play. It's part of our learning DNA. And so again, when we're looking at these games, are we looking at them to co-opt them to bend to our will as the teacher, or can they give us a window into learning? And I think what happened yesterday with the sale of Minecraft, you know, I think I've stopped reeling from that, but I hope, my hope, and it always has been when I talk about Minecraft, it's not about the game, but I think developers, I think teachers, I think parents can learn a tremendous amount about learning if they stop judging, if they just sit down and not just watch their kids play, but actually sit down and play with them. And I hope that the lesson, if anything that comes out of the hugely popularity of Minecraft, is that maybe more developers will stop and think about why were the kids so insanely obsessed, is the word I heard all the time, with this game. Is it the game that is evil, or is it a game that is showing us about something, showing us something that our kids are very, very hungry for, and that is largely, you know, changed in our culture? I know when I was a kid, I left after school and we roamed the neighborhood and played freely until dinner time, and then again afterwards until bedtime. And I don't know that that happens very much anymore, and yet it does in these virtual spaces. So it's something for us to think about. One thing that amazed me in their play is that, and I'm going to be really cognizant of time, is that they did design their own camp. And they actually tried to run a camp in Minecraft. That's a whole different story. But the thing that blew me away and that I'm looking at right now is when they designed it to look like school. And I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it, and I probably will still be looking at it this year. The narrative of what we think school is so strong in our cultural DNA that I think it is really hard for us to move beyond that image and reimagine something new. And yet, if we can step outside of that and look at how the kids play, I'm going to get on a soapbox. I do want to show you that I took one of the classes from one of the kids, and she wrote me a report card. And she told me later, and it's actually on film, that she felt bad for me, so she wrote it and gave me a better grade than I really deserved, but she actually was mad at me. But when I look at this report card, I see this is a kid who knows how to play the game of school. And it was really interesting when the roles were reversed. So she gave me an A-, and she later said, I only deserved a C, because I didn't do what she wanted me to do, and I was being naughty on purpose, I will admit. And so they had this real rigid structure of school, but the playfulness was still there. One of their classes was Mob Extermination 101, and you can't see that. I think you can see in the very top right corner is the teacher hovering above the student who's in the diamond armor. She's set the mobs out, and she's trying to teach them how to take care of mobs. So I was happy to see that there was still some playful nature in the classes they taught. And we actually hooked up with Pursuitery, which is a great organization with part of the Connected Learning Alliance, where people kind of gather around their interests. And the kids ran several classes. I was really impressed that they could run a Google Hangout, be in game, and teach classes, and they were really good. They taught several classes, and I learned a lot. And we forget. You know, we don't think of teachers as students, and yet that's really where you learn most deeply is when you're teaching, and they are very adept at doing that. The last story I want to tell you is this summer when I was in New Zealand tooling down, actually Braun was driving, thank you Braun, she was driving us from, where were we driving from? Rotorua down to Wellington. Beautiful country, and we got very excited, Peggy and I got so excited because right there in the middle in the distance is Mount Doom. It is not called Mount Doom in New Zealand. Got my iPad out to take a picture and had a text from one of my students. And I'm going, this is great because I'm on, the most expensive international data. And I could tell she really, I know the student well, that she really wanted to talk. So I got on Skype in the middle of New Zealand on my expensive data. And what she wanted to do is wanted to make a proposal with the principal this year. She's going to be in 8th grade. She loved the game Ingress, and she wants the school to adopt Ingress as part of the PE program. And she had written a letter, and she was contacting me to see if I could look at it and give her feedback. And it was very powerful. Thank God Peggy was there to help with the grammar and the citing. And you can see she just did a really good job, and she had pages with all of her rationale, and came back in the end and made a plea with the administration to hear her out. And school just started and the dust has cleared, so I'm expecting that sometime in the next week or so that meeting will be set up. So what makes it that a student that I started with when she was in 3rd grade can move and develop from a shy student into somebody who's a leader with her peers of all ages, to somebody who can hold her own at a game Designers Conference. And I have to say that day, this was at Games for Change, she was the most knowledgeable on the panel and spoke very well to her understanding of the game. So Steve, that was great. He wrote today and he asked this question. He asked it last night. I've been asking it in my presentation, who really controls the learning? Are we going to take these games that the kids love? Are we going to bend them to our will so that we can teach them content? Or are we going to understand that in a world where none of us know how it's going to change, one of the best tools that we can give our students is practice in becoming a self-directed learner, in being a multiplayer learner, and being able to do what they're actually doing, many of them on their own without us. In my book, what I've learned over the last few years is that learning trumps the content. We do live in the age of information, and I love that Peggy Sheehy always says, if you can Google it. Really? Let's think a little bit differently. Let's think about clearing some space for learning, as John Hunter says. And let's think about giving those kids challenges, and instead of teaching them content, giving them challenges by giving them some boundaries and some obstacles, because that's where creativity comes and problem solving, and going on this journey together. And so I want to open the last few minutes for your questions.
Great. To ask a question, you could put it in the chat, or you can raise your virtual hand. That's the third icon over in the participant box. It's a hand icon. And I'm going to give microphone privileges to everybody in case someone wants to just grab the microphone. Marianne, that was terrific. People may actually appreciate a short break here before the next sessions.
Great. Well, I appreciate you being here and letting me share the story of the journey I've been on with my kids. And, you know, reach out, let me know what's going on in your classroom. Thank you.
I'm applauding for you. You get to the applause icon by going over the smiley face and click on applause. You deserve extra applause tonight because you had to put up with an internet failure and drive to a friend's house to present. And you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for being patient at the beginning. I appreciate it.
No, that was terrific. Okay, thanks everybody. We're in the second night of our inaugural Gaming and Ed conference. I'm going to turn the recording off. Encourage you to consider going to one of the 2 sessions that are coming up this next hour. Take a quick break, and we'll see you soon. Thanks everybody. Bye now.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Marianne. I miss our talks.
I know.